If you're into reinventing yourself abroad, dating abroad, starting a community abroad, moving abroad to start a new life, and or starting a business from a hobby or a passion that you have, then you'll want to keep watching this video because that's what Cepee Tabibian gets in the second half of my interview with her. The first half, you can find the link in the description box below, where she talks about her decision to move to Spain after the age of 35. And in this second part, she talks about how after the age of 40, after having kind of given up on Spanish guys, she moves to a new city, and lo and behold, she meets somebody, and she'll get into how that happened. But she also talks about how she finally decided to quit freelancing, quit her job, quit freelancing, and go all in on what had just started as kind of a passion side project, and she turned that into her full-time gig. And there's so many tips about wherever you might be on your road to invention, whether it's reinventing your career, reinventing where you live, reinventing your thoughts about love and romance. So you'll definitely want to listen to this part 2 with Cepee Tabibian. When did you finally just decide to completely focus on that and let go of the freelancing work?
Yeah, so I did. I fully committed to She Hit Refresh. I think it was 2 years ago now. So maybe 2020, what are we in? 2024? I think 2022 is when I
Cool.
fully committed. Yeah, 2022,
Was
January,
that
February.
scary, or were you just completely ready?
I was completely ready. I left another good job. So this was a great remote job with a company in the US. And I was ready to focus on my own project. So it was great to be a part of a team and have that support and work for one client because over the years as I was a freelancer, I had various clients, projects would end. It's not always the most stable,
Mhm.
but the last job I left before I went full on in She Hit Refresh was just a stable and incredible position. So yes, it was a little bit scary to leave that, but I was really ready. So I felt confident in my decision.
Can I ask how you got that first freelancing job? Was it through friends, or did you use some online platform?
Yes, yes. I'm so glad you asked. This is the power of network and networking. So, in my Facebook group, She Hit Refresh, I was doing Facebook Lives with guests, external guests. And so, I had actually reached out to the company that I later worked for, Power to Fly, to see if one of their employees would speak to my community. So, Power to Fly helps, at the time, they were helping women find jobs. They help underrepresented demographics find jobs in significant roles or important roles. And so I wanted them to talk to my community about finding remote work. And so that person I invited later on down the line is somebody who helped facilitate, getting a job at Power to Fly.
That's really cool. So you owe a lot in your life, well, to yourself, but to the fact that you networked so much, to networking.
Yes. And, it's not something that I really did when I was younger. This is something definitely I have learned the power of. I mean, you hear it, people say it. Networking can have a smarmy,
It does.
connotation to it.
Mhm.
But really for me, it's just like cultivating friendships and being interested in people and learning. I just, that was awakened at like a very high level when I moved to Spain. And so just naturally I learned that by just fostering friendships, asking questions, reaching out to people, like that really is what opens doors.
Opportunities open up. Yeah.
Yeah, you create your own opportunities there.
Did you have a coach or a therapist or any sort of support system? Was it just friends and family? Any sort of coach slash therapist role that you used to support yourself during this time?
No, I didn't. I mean, I will say at a certain point, I did hire some professional coaches to help me,
Mhm.
but in the first probably 5 years of She Hit Refresh, I really didn't have a lot of external support,
Mhm.
other than like friends who had
Yeah,
their own
and I'm not saying
businesses.
it's necessary, but it's just interesting to hear if when people are leaning have coaches, don't have coaches, if that helped, if that didn't help.
Oh yeah. I mean, now I am always looking for experts to help me with everything. So I wish I would have leaned into it more at the time. I also, yeah, didn't know how powerful that is. So right now, if
Mhm.
I want to get somewhere faster, I'm always looking for somebody externally who can help me, who can teach me, who can help me with my mindset. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
What When you didn't have a coach, did you have any practices to help you with your mindset? Because this is a lot. I mean, you're taking a completely unconventional path. You're creating new things. You don't really have a roadmap to follow. Did you have a yoga practice, meditation practice, walking practice, or anything, or was it just your mindset?
Right? I don't know. Was it a drinking practice? I don't
Was it
know.
a drinking practice? Was it a red wine practice? Was it a vermouth practice? Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I mean, I'm not a huge drinker, but my life in Madrid was very social. So I did
Yep.
work very hard, but I also, made sure to see my friends and do fun things. So that really helped kind of blow off some steam. But I will say, in creating that Madrid blogger network, I was just meeting a lot of people who were in the same position. So foreigners, a lot of Americans or British people who had started their own businesses abroad. So that really was a support system to lean into, to just
Mhm.
talk about things and kind of see what they were doing.
Just a
Um,
feeling of community, just knowing that there are other people out there like you, like-minded people.
exactly. What I wish I would have tapped into more is really conferences, and that's something I prioritize now. But just going
Mm.
to conferences with like-minded people or industry-related events, because I think that's where you're really learning and moving the needle forward, and meeting a lot of people who not only become your friends, but you can learn from, and again, create those opportunities.
Would you say you left the United States because you obviously weren't happy there, and I would assume your happiness level was a little bit lower. Would you say that it immediately your happiness level got higher just living in Spain?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, for sure.
So
Yeah.
just being there, just the pure fact of being there made you happier.
Yes, and I truly believe that environment matters, especially it
Mhm.
maybe matters more so for some people than others, but for me, it matters. I mean, like as you even in the intro, you talked about Austin being a really incredible city, and it is, and people love it, and people love living there. I didn't really mesh with the city; it just wasn't my match, and um, like I had mentioned earlier, I just didn't feel very alive there. And so
Mhm.
just by changing the environment and putting myself in a place that really that I really felt like I matched with, really changed my whole mood and perspective.
I love that, yeah. I find that's really true. Obviously, you can't expect your location to change everything for you, but it can help bring out a different side of you.
Yes. Yeah.
So you loved Madrid. It sounds like Madrid is one of your true loves, but you don't live in Madrid anymore. So what happened there?
Yes. And I often say like Madrid is my first love. Like it will always be my first love. But in 2020, Spain had a very harsh lockdown in Europe. And so in the fall of 2020, I decided to temporarily change location. I had, spent a lot of time in my apartment, which is kind of like a shoebox, right? If you're living in New York City, Madrid is kind of like the equivalent. So I had an apartment in the city center, but we were confined to our apartments for our homes for quite a while. And so I was seeking a change. I was seeking nature. I was seeking a little more space. And I worked remotely at the time. And I had friends who were leaving the city to go to the coast. And I just kind of thought, I had never thought of leaving Madrid before, even temporarily. And I just thought, oh, well, I can do that too. Like maybe I'll just change it up, leave while this COVID thing's happening and things are a little bit weird in the city. And I'll come back next summer once the city's back to normal. So that was the plan. Go to Malaga, where I am now, for 6 months, but now it's been almost 4 years and I'm still
Did
here.
you did you completely let go of your apartment in Madrid or did you just sublet it for a while thinking you might go back?
No, I let it go. The cutest little apartment. Yeah, I let it go and moved all of my stuff to Malaga.
And how did you find the place in Malaga?
So I found it online on a platform that's popular here called Idealista, if anyone's moving to Spain.
Mhm.
And I actually, at the time, it was very hard to move between different regions of Spain because of COVID. Like borders were closed within Spain. So there was like a week where I could come to the south of Spain, and I came that week and looked at like 12 apartments, signed a lease, and went back to Madrid to pack up my stuff and came back within 2 weeks.
Boom.
Yeah,
And
boom.
one thing that a single woman in her 30s moving abroad, one thing might be on their mind, or they might be curious about one thing, and that is dating in a different culture. What was it like for you dating in Spain, if that was at all a focus that you had? And then how did you meet the person that you're with?
Yeah, so dating became I don't know if it's a focus, but it was definitely something I was doing. So when I first moved to Spain, I wanted to build my own world. So I was like, I'm not trying to meet anybody for the first few years. I want to have fun. I want to do my thing. I don't want to compromise. It's me, 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 right? And so I maybe went on a few dates here and there, but nothing serious. But I would say towards the last 2 years of my stint in Madrid, I was there 5 years. I was dating more regularly, and not that I was jaded, because I'm not someone who's jaded by dating, but I just wasn't. I was going on dates with a lot of Spanish guys and not really feeling like that was a good fit. And so when I moved to Malaga, I mean, when I left Madrid, or that last year there, I was like, you know what? Probably for me, it's going to be a European that's not Spanish. Maybe, I don't know, a
It's
German,
so
a
funny
Finnish,
because I
like
had the same
Shanghai.
thought when I lived in Spain. It's
Oh
just so
my
funny.
God,
Oh, like Spanish man.
we are the
I mean, I
same.
I was living in Barcelona, so I just kept on chalking it up. Maybe it's just Catalan men, but
Yes.
okay. And not to
Yeah.
this, just the experiences that I had. I thought, oh, maybe there's a cultural thing going on here. But okay,
This is
so
what I thought too. I was like, it's probably just a cultural thing. Like, that's fine. Luckily, Spain is very international. There's a lot of
hmm
Europeans here. And in Malaga, and when I got to Malaga, though, I was only going to be here temporarily. So dating was definitely not a focus. And it was COVID. Like, you weren't really trying to date during COVID.
no.
But I was curious to see, like, who is here on the apps, right? Because when you go on apps in different cities, you see different types of people.
hmm
And I thought, if I did not meet anybody in 5 years in Madrid that really, caught my eye, I am not going to find anybody in Malaga. This is a smaller city. Yeah, but let's just see. So I was just curious and looking online, and actually, one of the people that I matched with was my partner that I'm with now, and he's actually Spanish. So
He is Spanish.
he is Spanish.
Oh,
Yes, but I will say what caught my eye is that his profile was in English, and it said he lived in California. And I was like, well, what is that? So come to find out, he actually was living in the US at the time and had been for about 10 years.
oh,
And was just in Malaga visiting family during COVID, kind of spending time with them. And so we were both kind of here temporarily, and we matched and we met. I met him 2 weeks after I was here, and he had been here 3 weeks. And
that's
that's it.
crazy.
The
And
rest
then
is
just from
history.
there, just stayed. No, no looking
Yeah, I
back.
mean, he was supposed to go in 2 months, and then 7 months later, I'm like, "Are you going back to San Francisco? What is going on?"
So have you
um,
both decided just to live now in Malaga, or do you have plans to move somewhere else in the future?
yeah, I mean, I think that discussion is open. We enjoy our life in Malaga, but I think, talking about places that really suit you. I mean, I still miss Madrid. If I had the opportunity to move there tomorrow, I would. And I think for my partner too, he loves San Francisco, and
Oh
so it's
God, I'm not a fan of San Francisco. I mean, it's
right.
beautiful, but okay.
It's a beautiful city, but I definitely don't want to move back to the US. He would like to be near the water, so Madrid kind of isn't it. So
Mm,
we're like open to the world, so that's really great. I'm kind of feeling like an Asia move for a few years, so
really?
we'll
Now
see.
you fell in love with Madrid immediately, but did you ever travel around Spain and check out other places? No other city struck you like Madrid, like Barcelona maybe, or I don't know, Granada,
Uh,
other places?
and no, I mean, I had lived in Cordoba for a year. I had done some shorter stints in Barcelona. I had seen a lot of Spain in my 20s, and really nothing made me feel like Madrid. I mean, even to
Madrid.
this day, I've seen so much of the world, and still, when I go to Madrid, which I'm going tomorrow, it just feels like home to me, and no other place really gives me that feeling.
I'm jealous that you have that because that is what I've been looking for. I've been looking for that
Oh,
place.
really?
I didn't have that feeling in my 20s for Barcelona, which is why I ended up moving to Barcelona. But it wasn't a long lasting. It wasn't like this is my place forever. It was more like this was my place for my 20s, which was a great
Yeah.
place to be in your 20s. But
Right.
I'm actually envious of people who have that one place connection that they feel like that's their soul home. And I think
Yes.
that's great. Um,
Yes. Your soulmate city, right?
exactly your soulmate city, your soulmate city. Yeah. So you did such a great job of creating a community in Madrid. How have you been doing that in Malaga?
Yeah. So at the beginning, it was a little bit of a challenge because, as I mentioned, it was during COVID. So people were not as receptive to meet up, right? I mean, even gathering was hard because there were also restrictions when I moved to Malaga. There were still restrictions in Spain. So I would say, and also, I was falling in love. I met my partner, you just want to spend all your time with
Yeah.
them. So that was going on. Um, and then, I really got into my work. This was the same time I was transitioning to She Hit Refresh full time. And so I'm someone who, like I mentioned, I was very obsessed with my work. So I can work, 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 and kind of, my social life suffered. So I would say year 3 last year is when I was like, whoa, I don't really have friends here. The friends that I have are like the 2 people that I knew from Madrid that moved here, but I haven't cultivated community. And the little that I tried, I just wasn't finding my people. It was really, I would say, a struggle. And so um, last fall, or actually even this year more so, I started another group. So I started the Malaga Content Creator Network, kind of the extension of the Madrid Blogger
Mhm.
Network.
This is your go-to. This is your go-to move, and it seems to work every time.
Yeah, it's been very helpful to me. A lot of people that, again, are doing similar things. But I will say, like, in terms of connecting, I haven't, even though, we have 40, 50 people show up. So these are very fun and incredible people are showing up. But I still feel like I'm just not finding the same connections at the same level as I did in Madrid. So I would say, yeah,
It's
community is so important, but it can be tough.
Yeah. Now you said that basically the way that you did it isn't don't do it the way I did it. I kind of went abroad. I didn't have a super plan. What would it look like for somebody who's doing it correctly? What would the correct way of doing it look like? And
Yes.
this might tie in because you also say that in your masterclass you go over the 4 steps to move abroad. And
Definitely. Knowing what I know now, I will say, like, when I moved abroad, it was kind of like on a whim. And that's when I do say, don't do what I did. Like, actually, give this, have a better plan. And I think, there's kind of 4 areas that I like to focus on. And I think these are the 4 foundational areas if you want to move abroad. There's so many logistics that comes with moving abroad, but really what's going to get you there and help you have a successful move are these 4 things. So number one, you just need to have some clarity on what does a move abroad look like to you, because that looks very different to everybody. When you say I want to move abroad, do you want to move to Madrid like I did? Are you trying to live in South America? What are you doing with your days? Do you want to teach English? Do you want to work remotely? Are you retired? Really, like, understand what you want your life to look like, because I really think a move abroad is so much more than just changing locations. It's really an opportunity for you to transform your life and really create a life that is in alignment with how you want to live. So there needs to be a lot of thought into this. And I say this because a lot of people are like, oh, in the news, I see everyone's moving to Portugal. I moved to Portugal. But Portugal isn't a good fit for everybody. So just really think about what it is you want when you're
Mhm.
thinking about your move. 2, you got to figure out your the work and money situation, and you need to have a viable option, right? So is that remote work? Is that finding work in country, which is very hard? Are you taking a year off? Do you have the savings to support you? So you really need to crunch the numbers too here and understand what the cost of living is going to be where you want to move to.
Mhm.
3, okay, where you want to move to. So it's great if you have a soulmate country or city, but can you actually legally live there? I
Mm.
find a lot of women come to me saying, oh my God, I've always wanted to live in London. I want to live in the UK, or I want to go to Sweden. And these are places that are very difficult. And I don't even encourage my community to even look at as a first option because it's so difficult. So you definitely need to see, is there a viable visa option for you? And then, decide if that's the country that you want to live in. And last but not least, so after we have the vision of what we want, we we understand what we're going to do for money and if we can get a visa for where we want to live. The last one is really just working through our limiting beliefs,
Mm.
because even if you have a plan that is showing you how to move abroad, you have the solutions, you can do it, we can get in our own way. That's when the doubts creep up and you start thinking, oh my God, am I too old to do this? Is it too late? What if it doesn't work out? What are people going to think? All that can really stop you from taking that leap. And so it's really important to work through
How did you work through your limiting beliefs?
that. Well, I definitely had them. I mean, I had them internally. And then, as I mentioned, when you tell people your plans, they're projecting their fears on you. And you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. What about this? What about that? So for me, I mean, luckily I'm a go-getter and I'm a doer. So even though I had fears and doubts. I had to remind myself, like, I can do this. In my case, I had done it before, so I can do this. And really remind myself, what is the worst case scenario? If I move abroad and it doesn't work out, okay, then I just move back and I
Hmm.
get another job like I've always done. I can get a job. I had a condo. I was like, I can move back into my condo. Like, it's not that bad. So just kind of rationalizing it, but also talking it out with people. I think
Hmm.
that helps so much. When we internalize things and don't share, we can really turn something very small into this huge fear or blocker. And so talking it out really normalizes it and also helps you see different perspectives and different angles and different
Hmm.
solutions.
I think also just hearing other people's stories, just like the podcast you started, the group you started,
Yeah,
you start to see, wow, lots of other women are doing this too, not only over the age of 30, over the age of 40, over the age of 50, over the age of 60. So that can start building your own mindset, your own sense of what's possible.
totally. And that wasn't an option. When I was moving, this is really a reason why I also started She Hit Refresh, is to give visibility to these stories and allow women to connect with others. Because if you can see it, if you can see a woman who is 44, who has moved to Paris and she did it, then it becomes very possible. And a lot
Yeah.
of the women that I work with are in communities like I was, where people just don't get it and people don't do these kind of things. And it can make you feel weird, or they can call your idea crazy. And that can really kill a dream. And I want women to know this is totally possible. And there's tons of us out here doing it.
Yeah. You said that some places like London, Sweden aren't really that great as a first option. What are some of the best first option countries that you think of when you think of European visas for women?
Yes. So I would say the Spain and Portugal, I mean, they are popular because they are so accessible. And
Hmm.
they're accessible because they have a lot of visa options. So you have digital nomad visa if you're a remote worker. They have, their retiree visas. So that's if you have savings or passive income, you can
Hmm.
qualify for those. There's other visas as well. But if you want to work as a freelancer and you're from the US, the Netherlands might be a good option for you because they have a visa just for Americans who are freelancers or self employed.
Hmm.
So those are some of the great ones. But you know what? One of the best ones, and I'm actually off to this country next week, is Albania,
Mm.
because Albania, you don't even need a visa if you're a US citizen. You can live there visa free for the first year and you can renew your stay there. And it's a low cost country. And I'm very excited to go check it out myself so I can start talking about it more to my community.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about Albania as well. Like it keeps on popping up more and more in these communities. Well, lastly, I would love to know what is a typical day and week for you living there in your seaside town of Malaga?
Yes. Well, I will say this year has been very atypical because, kind of going back to that community question, since I felt like I was lacking some community here, even though I was starting community, I also thought, you know what? I have a lot of community external to Malaga and I want to tap into that. And so I've been traveling a lot this year, going to conferences where my peers are, just going to new places because that really makes me feel alive. So
Hmm.
this year has been atypical in the sense that at least 1 or 2 weeks out of the month, I've been traveling. So I'm not in Malaga.
Really? Where have you been traveling? Within Spain or other countries too?
Other countries. So, yes, to Germany, to France, to Italy. There's so many more, and I'm blanking out now, to Georgia, the country. So it's been a year of a lot of travel, which has been so fun, and also within Spain. And so actually, my typical day here in Malaga is kind of more not downtime, but I'm more at home because I'm working a lot. I'm kind of catching up because it's hard
Got
to work
it.
on the road, right? And then in
Hmm.
between, I'm doing my meetup and I'm trying to see friends. But a lot of my day is spent at home, and this summer actually has been really nice because we've been taking breaks by walking down to the Mediterranean and taking a dip or having lunch with a view and really just trying to remind ourselves of like how lucky we are to really live here and have the
Hmm.
access to the beauty that we do.
Ah, that sounds nice. What does your partner do, if I may ask?
Yes. Yeah. So my partner is an engineer and he works remotely. So that is, um, I think, really important when you're also maybe thinking about, partners is lifestyle match. Like, given the flexibility that I have and how much I want to incorporate travel into my life, I don't think I could be with someone who has a 9 to 5 and has to go into the office.
Yeah.
I just think that'd be very hard for us to mesh our lives. So I'm very grateful that I have a partner that not only has the flexibility, but also enjoys to travel as much as I do.
No kidding. Well, that's a win for the apps then, because sometimes they don't produce winners, but sometimes they do. Now, just as one more last question,
Yeah, go
when
for it.
women come and the women that you've coached, what are some of their biggest fears? What are some of the biggest things that they're going through, and what do you have to say to them? Is there
Yeah.
one kind of typical profile of a woman who's coming to you for coaching and going into your programs, and what would you say to her?
Yes. Well, I would say, I mean, pretty much the age range that most of the women that fall into that I work with are anywhere from 35 to 55. The majority are child free
Mhm.
and single, not all. And I think for a lot of them, their biggest fear is the age. So, am I
Mhm.
too old? That's number one. Because they all, again, they think that they are the only, that this is something they should have done when they were younger. And it's really weird to be doing this at this point in their life. So we definitely work through that. And just by connecting them with others, I think that really helps them remind them, like, no, you can change your life at any age. Another big fear is, what if it doesn't work out? People want guarantees that they are making the right decision. And that's hard because life does not have guarantees, right? A move abroad is very much like life. And I let people know, like, you can't know it's the right decision until you do it,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But what I do help them with is creating that plan so that they can set themselves up for success. Because I think there's a right way to move abroad, and I think there's a wrong way to move abroad. And I really want to help women who are doing this at a point in their life where they have real responsibilities, right? This is not just like when we came in our 20s, like, you know, we don't have a lot of responsibilities and we can go and this can go wrong and it doesn't matter because we can bounce back and we really don't have any responsibilities that we
Yep.
need to be thinking about. It's different now when you have a mortgage, maybe if you have pets, if you have a car note, whatever it is, you have a good job.
And you're leaving
So
something behind. You're leaving a career behind. In your 20s, you haven't really built up a career, so you're not leaving anything behind, really.
exactly. So I feel like women feel like they have a lot to lose. And so we help them make this move, feeling good about their decision because they have done all their homework. They're doing this in a way that works for them, right? We're not saying this is the only way, come teach English. We're like, you can do this in a way that works for you, and let's help you find solutions so that you can do that.
That's great. I love it. Definitely learned a lot here. Anything else that you want to add before we end this interview?
Yeah, I just want to remind if anyone out there is listening and feels like a move abroad is something that they want to do or they're curious about, or even if it's an idea that has been visiting you for years, even decades. I have definitely a lot of women who are like, I've had this dream for 30 years. I think you should consider giving that idea a chance, right? It's coming to you for a reason. Not everybody wants to move abroad. So if you have this idea that keeps revisiting you, think about it because I know in my case, I have had the dream to move abroad since I was 17. And I finally was able to do it in a way that worked for me at 35. And it really changed my life in ways I could not foresee. And that wouldn't have been possible if I stayed in the US. So again, if you're having this dream or idea, I really think a move abroad is an opportunity for you to transform your life and maybe just, take a chance on yourself and see what it's all about.
Yeah, join the She Hit Refresh Facebook community and go check out the Move Abroad After 30 Masterclass. Is there a short URL to that? I mean, I'll put it in the show notes for sure, but
Yeah, if you definitely, yeah, if you go to our website, shehitRefresh.com, just do /masterclass and you can find out more information.
cool. Well, thank you so much for being on my show. It was really great talking to you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. This was so fun. Thank you for the opportunity.
That's the end of this interview so far. If you want to watch the other half of this interview or see how another woman reinvented herself over the age of 35, you can click on this next video here or on the playlist there or in the description box below. And please let me know, how would you reinvent yourself? Please write your answer in the comments below. And if you like this video, the number one way that you can say thanks to me is to hit the subscribe button and then hit the thumbs up button for this video.